tenet one is we change for a reason. We begin with we change for a reason. Most of the time, everyone will start nodding their heads. And that's the goal of the first three tenets, is to get people to nod their heads along with the reality of change, how we're painting this picture. So I'm going to start with what is change. Change is a movement out of a way of doing things through some sort of a transition to ultimately really reach a new future state. And Arnold van Gep, which was a cultural anthropologist, and he looked at rites of passage around the world in the early 20th century. And he was the first person that started to describe this notion of a separation, a liminal, and a reincorporation phase. But we find that most who describe change go towards this notion of how things were, a movement, and how things will be. Now, Van Gennep gave us separation, liminality, incorporation. Lewin gives us famously unfreeze, moving, and refreezing. Bridges gives us the ending, the neutral zone, and the new beginning. And then many more contributors to this discipline of how do we deliver better change outcomes have broken change into these three parts. By understanding change as a current, a transition, and a future, an as is and a to be, how we are today and who we want to become, we can more effectively manage it. Now, I know some of you are thinking, wow, the world is so different today. Current, transition, future feels so archaic. The world is just constantly changing. And I would agree, that we are certainly living in a time of many simultaneous, concurrent changes going on. Some of those refreeze, but some of them continue in cycles of unfreeze, refreeze, slush freeze. Certainly at the highest level, there is never a singular refrozen future state. But I think we can still make sense of and do a better job of supporting our people through change if we think about change in these three phases. And the goal then is to get to a future state that's better than the current state. We change for a reason to get to a future state where we deliver improvement to the organization. There are gains the organization reaps as a result of this initiative. Lower cost, higher revenue, higher market share, reduced error rates. Those are the organizational benefits. And then we associate or achieve those with particular project objectives. So if this project is aimed at reducing the number of defects per 1,000 things that go through the line, that's the achievement we're trying to achieve through the project objectives. And when those roll up, the organization ends up in a better place than where it was. We change for a reason to help the organization gain in some way by achieving specific project measures and metrics. And in the end, the reasons for change are sort of across the board. I've started to think about it or present it this way, that there's internal and external reasons for change, and there are triggers in today, and there are goals we are trying to achieve in the future. And our organizations, in terms of current state triggers, internally, we have things like strategic plans and performance. Externally, we have customer demands and competitive threats and new technology. Internally, we have aspirations or goals that we're trying to achieve. And externally, there are aspirations that we are trying to achieve in our relation with those around us.